You want to see a house where somebody's going to make about $350,000 in profit? Well, so do I. This person, Philip, bought a property for $1.4 million. I am funding his renovation of $900,000, which is crazy. By the way, if you ever need funding, please email us, money@pacemorby.com. We'd love to fund your deals. But today we're going to see an old house turned into something like that. Philip is apparently going to sell this home for $3 million, and he's going to net, after all his expenses, his renovation, everything, he's going to net about $350,000. He's done a lot of projects, but he wants to do more. So he's been asking for more funding, more people to jump in and help him out with his projects. We're going to see the story of where he found the deal, who the hell this guy is of doing $3 million flips, and how you can do stuff like this too. Man, you guys are cranking.
It's unreal.
Yeah, tell me what you guys are doing on the 900,000 renovation. Everything, I imagine.
It's almost everything, which is, part of the process, and I feel like what's part of the edge. So this house started off just over 3,500 square feet.
Okay.
We're taking it to just over 5,000 square feet.
Oh, damn, you guys are adding a lot.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
So we absorb all the covered patio space, put new electrical, basically all new mechanics, and really just try to deliver all the amenities that the luxury market is demanding.
Yeah. You guys how many did you guys do last year?
We haven't. My builder did one.
Okay.
And has been doing addition remodels consistently with other teams.
Okay.
He's just been doing, I met him, I did one addition remodel like this out in Arcadia Light.
Okay.
And then did one remodel in Arcadia proper. I had just been in remodeling and flipping, and wholesale. I got into wholesale first, and we were all out in the Midwest and the Southeast when everybody was doing the hedge fund buying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's how I got introduced to guys like you.
The good old
Jerry
days.
Norton, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I had some friends that were killing it in that hustle and then got into that. I quickly realized that game was unsustainable.
I tell everybody, and my friend, so Jerry, who's my best friend, I always tell him, wholesaling is like a stepping stone. It's a good gateway drug for a lot of people to jump into the game, but it's not sustainable because you want to build teams, you want to make larger chunks of money.
Right.
And then the economy changes, so you have to shift your strategy so rapidly. So I got into the game of holding. I primarily hold, and now I've got 2,000 rentals, and all my friends that are wholesaling are like, how do I get out of wholesale? I'm like, you got to start holding or doing projects where you can make hundreds of. Now Jerry's really good at flipping.
Yeah.
So he's got a project in Puerto Rico he's going to make like 2.1 million on. He's got a big luxury build, the whole house is all concrete.
Gotcha.
And then his brother does PV builds where he just made 25 million on one deal net. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm here.
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
did you live there and then you moved here?
Both.
Okay.
I was here, right? I played poker professionally before I got into investing. I realized there was no scale, trading time for money, all that, right? I'm just playing with whales every day. They all have business and real estate and stocks. And so I'm just like, I'm beating the brakes off these guys day in, day out for 15 years, and I'm going nowhere. You know what I mean? These guys are pissing away the money.
They're doing it for fun.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this doesn't make sense. So I got into investing, first got into equities and trading. It was about the same skill set. Again, there's no leverage, there's no scale. Found real estate in that way. And then was just looking for an in. That was wholesaling. My friends were in the Southeast doing the wholesale thing. So I was just studying wholesaling and doing that full time and realized, like you said, this is a stepping stone. This is the foundation for flipping and investment. So I got that skill set and then just found, okay, if I'm going to flip, I should go to luxury.
I already know where you're going to go. So luxury flips is really good. You can make a lot more money.
Yeah.
Especially if you have a good contractor that does good quality work and you don't have to mess around with them. And these guys are cranking, and I'm sure you have your issues to a certain degree, but if you have a contractor that understands big projects like this, most of the time they're not bullshitting and they just get the stuff done. But a guy like you, here's what's going to happen. You're sophisticated, just in general. So what you'll end up doing is you'll go, how do I go build an apartment building? How do I go do this?
Of course.
How do I make 5 million?
Of course.
Right? And a lot of people that get stuck in wholesale are also the people that they're not that sophisticated, and making $100,000 a year is a big deal for them.
Right.
For you is like, okay, well, now I understand the transaction, what's title and escrow, what's EMD, how do I raise money?
You're just looking up.
Yeah, you're looking up. And even this, which will be fun, and you probably do a bunch of projects and make a couple $1,000,000 a year, you'll get to a point where probably end of 2026, you'll go, all right, what's next?
I'm already thinking that way. And I can already see, it's like, I try not to get too ahead of myself in that way.
Yeah.
But I'm always just looking for, okay, what's next? Try to get prepared,
Right.
and get lined up and start building those skills.
And the relationships and, acquiring the resources and all that kind of stuff.
It takes time.
Yeah,
And all those things takes time. So I'm just trying to get myself prepared, get the experience that I need. And these are really complicated jobs.
Oh, hell yeah.
A lot of moving parts.
Because I tell people, so I did 7,000 renovations when most people were like in the good old days with like Colony and Invitation Homes back in like 2009, 10, 11, 12. I was a contractor for all those guys. So I was building new and renovating similar to what you're doing. Primarily when I was doing expansions, like 2,000 square foot expansions, I was doing it for a homeowner. I was never flipping them for myself.
Gotcha.
And I told people I could build 10 houses brand new, ground up, for the same time I could add 2,000 square feet to a house like this. Because it's like, this is you're performing surgery. You're dissecting. You got to, we ran into this, and now I've got to seam these trusses with that, and we got to get a structural engineer. It's a lot more technical, but there's no project you'll never be able to handle. What do you need more of? Money?
Yeah.
Let me fund everything you have as long as it fits your criteria. I mean, you got obviously other lenders, but get us involved. That's the other thing too. It's like, I know you give my team credit of going in and unraveling the bull, like actually performing on the thing.
Yeah, of course.
But still, like, we could have performed way faster. Team, I'm sure, has been communicative other than the wire thing. I'll dig into that. I'm sure Heather has a good answer.
Honestly, the two things that we need right now are construction teams. You know what I mean? Like you see, this is a really demanding project, takes a lot of creativity.
Yeah.
So from CAD design to actual, good builder contractors that can show up, be consistent, and do things at this scale and volume, because that's the whole thing. It's like, my guy can do a certain amount of volume, but I'm trying to do more. The best part about working with somebody who's done this work is you completely understand every problem I'm going to face.
100%.
You know what I mean? And you can make my business whatever it is that I need it to be.
Yeah.
And so that's why I was super excited about doing this business, and why I was so excited about just like getting these loans closed, getting these projects started and going and being successful.
Well, also like understanding your pipeline too. Like, you have things under contract, or you're looking at something while you're in escrow, right? Or while you're in the offer stage, right? As you're going through LOI and you're getting your stuff accepted from the seller, we could be underwriting that stuff. So by the time you're even under contract, we're already approved for a loan.
We really try to do that. We try to get out in front of all of that as much as we possibly can. And the hard part is, I'm not trying to put drag on your business, right? You understand when you're trying to acquire properly, you're going to make a lot of offers, and some are better than others. You know what I mean? Your acceptance rate is going to be what it is. I don't want to put all this drag on your guys' underwriting teams.
It doesn't bother us at all.
Okay.
I know how it is. I mean, same thing with doing wholesale or we have, on my RV park business, we're buying a lot of RV parks. We go submit 150 offers before we get one even under LOI.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
exactly.
It just takes a while.
Yeah. And so that's what I'm saying. I'm glad that you understand, right? Because I can just fire out, hey, can you underwrite this? Hey, can you underwrite this?
Give us all the underwriting.
Okay. Yeah. I hate having to send teams through underwriting and then be like, didn't get it. You know what I mean?
No, it's tough because I also own a title company too. So like, one of the things that's tough about our title company is you get wholesalers that will open 50 contracts and they'll open escrow 50 times and they'll never close one.
Yeah.
So there's a frustrating part of like, that's an obvious problem, bro. Like, maybe you should be contracting at a lower price, or maybe better yet, come to me and say, I don't have good buyers, and I'll just give you the buyers that will buy the deals. And so when I understand what's going on in that situation, it's easy to fix it.
Yeah.
But from a standpoint of a legit player operating in the field, you're going to go through 10 houses before you get one, maybe 20, maybe 30, whatever it is. Our team knows that stuff. So especially if we're involved on the front end, dude, it's so crappy that you had to go through all that. So you'll go office here, which is great. Those clients need that. You'll have the main door into the area that way. What's gonna be right here?
So this is gonna be the main entryway.
Okay.
I think that they were toying with the idea of that being a formal dining room, and this being an office.
It's interesting how less and less people are actually caring about a formal dining room nowadays. Like, it looks like you have a really kick area.
Yeah.
Kind of depends on the family. So it's a little bit of roll of the dice.
It's interesting because people are starting to move away from that big open gymnasium feel where everything is just in one big open space, and they like a little bit more definition.
Yeah.
So we're seeing a little bit of both. So there's two different plans we can go with. Putting the form, because this is all going to be sealed up. That's the garage. That's going to be sealed up. The entrance is going to come in this way.
Okay.
This could be the formal dining here with a wine display and wet bar here, right? This is going to be our island, kitchen cabinets, you know, great room, TV wall. That's laundry. That's back to the master. This is a chef's kitchen and butler's pantry, dry storage.
Yeah.
So sink, another oven.
This room right here is all of that?
Pass through. Yeah.
No shit.
Massive.
And pass through to what?
Oh, just out here. Just out here. So we're going to have a big like window that's coming in and out.
What's this going to be here?
That's the master wing.
Okay, the master wing. Okay, so you're going to have butler's pantry here.
So dry. So have a dry storage room there, right? Have that kind of fogged glass, keep the mess where it belongs. Here we're going to have, you know, more cabinets, counters, oven.
Love it.
Microwave, sink. Keep the prep area here, and then this is more for display. This will be nice and beautiful, nice lighting there, you know, built-ins, fireplace, TV wall, formal sitting area here on the right, maybe something a little bit more formalized, elegant, etc. And then, yeah, I mean, everything's just gonna flow out here to a covered patio, get nice limestone pavers, redo the pool. The landscaping out here is beautiful. That's one of the main reasons that we bought this lot. It is just so established and so beautiful.
Yeah.
And you know, you catch that from the front door. So we really want to keep it open.
Yeah, I really like the corner lot too. I love where you're at. I like how the front door is not on the main road, but I love having the corner lot where you just don't feel like you're surrounded by neighbors, you know?
We're not going to get quite the big hit from being on 60th, which isn't the busiest road in the first place, but being off of Voltaire instead does help us a little bit. These corner lots just position you really well, and I think it makes the best use of the lot space because you're kind of set back into the lot.
Yeah.
Where some of these big acre dirt lots, they jam the house in the front.
Yeah.
And you've got 3/4 acres of dirt behind you. It's hard to make, you know, very useful or practical.
Yeah.
I just try to see it as, you know, I've kind of sprinted to this point in, you know, this industry, and having done this, I'm learning at an incredible rate. I could not be learning any faster. I can't tell you what I've gone through in this last year and a half in terms of facing problems, having to overcome things, whatever. So I really just try to take it as learning experiences, you know what I mean? And it getting me prepared for a much more intense, you know, more demanding.
This is the warm up.
So you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm just kind of getting in shape in that way. So
this is the Phoenix Open. You're getting ready for the Masters, bro.
That's how I see it. You know what I mean? So I just wake up and take it every day.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's super helpful. We buy higher than anybody. I mean, the margins are so massive on these. Yeah. And because each project kind of feeds other projects, we don't necessarily need every project to be a home run. Because if this is a double, it makes another one a triple or whatever.
Plus, you're building your credibility in the North Scottsdale marketplace and the Phoenix, you know, you're staying in the Phoenix zip code area, but like you're building your credibility with agents that you're like, these guys perform, they actually buy. It's such a big deal to compound that credibility.
That's what I mean. Yeah. Whether it's with lenders or agents or wholesalers or whatever, this volume makes a big difference.
Or even with like your suppliers that are giving you flooring or appliances.
All our deals get better. Our entire business functions better as a matter of volume. So as long as we can find things like this, right? We have a house 4 houses down, the exact same. Corner lot. It was a smaller house to begin with, but we're doing the exact same types of thing with a different style of design or whatever. But it's the same idea. We picked this one up for 1.4. We bought that for $1,065,000. So there's just that much meat on the bone in these. And so scrapers can't compete with where we buy at, and neither can remodelers. It's just not the same.
Yeah.
So we are the ideal customer for you guys. We're the ideal customer for wholesalers, for agents, for everybody, as long as everybody can perform and on time.
Who are you getting your deals from right now? Chris and Jack?
No, just everyone. You know what I mean? Everyone. I've got a lot of wholesalers on my list that are just hitting me every day. I've got agents that are bringing me on market, off market, you know, pre-listing, whatever. Like I was doing wholesaling professionally for a long time before, so I know, you know what I mean? I'm just building that network out as much as I can, and then just we get a lot of attention as these things are going up, right? The neighbors walk by, Those are our best deals. We just talk to everyone we possibly can. And then I'm setting up my Instagram and website. Eventually, I want to do some like geolocated targeting ads for doing my own off-market marketing.
Very cool. Very cool.
These people like this need a Gator. Like that 900 grand is not even my 900 grand. So it's like we'll generate $240,000 in profit. 120 will be mine. I make 120 grand on this guy's project without doing. Okay. So explaining to the audience, who are the people that need money and why do they need money and why don't they have their own money? Like when people say I flip houses, I immediately think first lien position loan, how do I supply that? Second lien position loan, which is your construction loan, how do I supply that? And how do I just sit back and watch the guy work his ass off? Like that's what I'm thinking the whole time. Everybody thinks that these people use their own money. They don't. You go bankruptly. Yeah, and you wouldn't be able to pay your bills. You wouldn't be able to do 2 projects. This guy's got 6 projects going on at all times, which is $20 million in debt. Wholesalers, right? So like, here's who the buyer is that will buy all your deals. When people are like, who are the buyers? Which I'm always in these live streams, so I'm constantly talking to wholesalers. And their thing is, but like, who are the buyers? Why don't they just buy the deals themselves? You think this guy has any time to go negotiate on deals? In fact, he was a wholesaler, which is also a video of like, here's the life cycle of you being in this business. Wholesale is here, and then he has this whole thing of like, I just feel like wholesale is unsustainable. I'm like, yeah, I teach it for free. Like, I think it's a good gateway drug, but you want to make real money, you got to get into these games.